Good morning and welcome to the Use presentation. Before we start, I just wanted to remind you that you are all muted in order not to disturb the other participants. If you do have any questions, you can send them in through the chat option. So today's topic is how to become an accounts payable top performer. My name is Emily, and I will be your presenter today. I joined Use about 2 years ago, and my goal is to implement successful accounts payable automation projects for our clients. Looking at the agenda today, so to start off, I'm just going to introduce you to who we are and a bit more about the company. We'll then look at a case study where we'll be describing a challenge that we faced, the pains that this business were going through, and we'll then go into the solution that was introduced, so how Use helps that company, and we'll then look at the results that they got from implementing Use. So let's start with the current challenges in a paper-based manual process. So typical pain points today. Most of the pains are usually well known. You can see some up on your screen here, but their financial impact is very often underestimated or not even estimated at all. So you can see some costs on the right where we have estimated the cost of a manual invoice, manual process from £7 to £15 per invoice that is going through your organization. We've estimated document storage at around £2.21 per invoice. So that's paper invoices, of course. We have estimated that 41% of accounts payable team's time is spent on handling supplier calls. There are also all those late payments, mistaken payments. How do you know if an invoice has been paid or you're not dealing with a duplicate invoice? We've got those mail costs, etc., etc. So why are these costs so high? So you don't need much time to see that those costs do add up very quickly per invoice. Why? That is just due to a slow, error-prone manual process, decentralized operations, local and mail costs as well. Our mission, so as a cloud AP automation provider, Use helps companies transforming their manual accounts payable processes into an automated data workflow. It reduces costs and delays by up to 70% and generates significant return on investment in a department that is usually only about spending. Use benefits from 30 years of experience from its parent company, which is ITsoft. We actually took their insights and technology expertise and really made it available to smaller organizations. So ITsoft is really the on-premise side of the group, and they are implementing solutions for very big companies dealing with hundreds of thousands of invoices. What they found was that smaller companies dealing with less volumes also wanted to be able to benefit from the technology that ITsoft were offering, but they didn't necessarily have the time, the financial or the technological resources available to them that would make them, that would enable them to implement such a solution. And that's when Use was created. So Use is the cloud side of things, and it's much quicker, the costs are much lower, and the resources needed are not as significant as the ones needed for ITsoft. So that was just really, Use was created just to allow these smaller companies to focus their resources where it really matters the most. Looking at financial intelligence and automation, so FIA. With the accounting department becoming more strategic in organizations, FIA can even start in the accounts payable department. So there are three key components of financial intelligence and automation. So the first key component is cloud, so the cloud service, which is going to just give much more operational efficiency and enable companies to focus on higher added value tasks. The second key component is real-time, so real-time visibility, smarter financial decisions, and just enabling companies to really have access anytime, anywhere to what is going on in the system, and just enabling them to make those decisions much more quickly than they had been before. The third key component of financial intelligence and automation is collaboration. So that is increased collaboration inside, but also out of the company. So if you have a company that is multi-site, you want to be able to transfer documents very quickly between your different sites. You want to have the users able to search for those documents, have access to those documents very quickly without obviously having to send them the paper invoices. So that's the collaboration inside the company. And we can also say out because we can give suppliers access to the solution where they're going to come in and import their own invoices into the solution and be able to track their processing in the solution. Going into the case study, so we're going to be looking at OnPointe's journey to accounts payable automation. So OnPointe is a healthcare provider that has multiple locations across several states in America. So they have 31 locations and are dealing with more than 4,000 invoices per month. The challenges that they faced prior to implementing the project was the merging of two different companies that were merged to create OnPointe. So we had company A that was centralized, so all the accounting was done in company A, but there was no visibility by decision makers or those accountable for those decisions. So company A were receiving the invoices, dealing with the invoices, but the people who had requested those invoices or had made those decisions obviously didn't have the ability to see those invoices because they were all in company A and the decision makers were all in different areas and they just didn't have access to those invoices. Company B, so decentralized because obviously, as I've just said, invoices were being dealt with in company A. Invoices were lost in the facilities, so maybe one of the companies received an invoice, had to send it to someone, but it got lost in the process. We had a long processing time with manual batching, mailing the actual invoices twice a month to the corporate office, so to company A, which involves obviously the risk of those invoices being lost in the process, plus the time it was taking to gather those invoices and send them off to company A so that they could be processed. So OnPointe's needs were, I could say, quite simple, but quite significant. So we had a scalable accounts payable solution where they wanted full integration into Intact, so Intact, their finance system. So they wanted to be able to very easily send all their information into their finance system. They wanted the ability to capture documents at the source location. So if one of their sites received an invoice, they wanted to be able to capture that document and send it into the system at that company site without having to send it to head office, so to company A that we just saw on the slide before. They wanted to be able to approve locally but process centrally. So that's coming back to the possibility of processing the documents on site. So they receive their document on a specific site. They're going to capture that document and send it into the system, and they're going to be able to approve through the workflows the invoices for the users who are based at different sites without having to send that invoice, that paper invoice, to those specific sites. So they wanted to be able to approve locally but process centrally. So once the approval process has been finished, process is going to end at head office, for example. They wanted to drill down access to source documents from Intact, so be able to search for those invoices that were coming into Intact very quickly, see who had worked on their invoices, at what time, at what date, and have an integrated payment solution where their invoices were being sent off to payment from Use to Intact. The approach. So just looking at why, firstly, they chose Intact. So Intact is their finance system. They chose Intact because it was cloud-based, which was going to enable them to solve their geographical challenges. So multi-sites, they wanted to have access, all their sites have access to their finance system. Accounts receivable and multiple billing systems integration capabilities. So they wanted to have in their Intact version integration capability, so being able to integrate into a finance system with multiple billing systems and an accounts receivable software as well. Third reason was the basic accounts payable package that was included, but that was easily expandable with Intact's partners, so easily integratable with various partners. Why was Use chosen? So Use was chosen because Use is actually one of Intact partners and is referenced on their marketplace. So this was just a reassuring point for OnPointe, because they could see that Use had previously worked with Intact, that we have been recommended by them, and that we can work very easily with this partner. Proven document technology, cloud-based solution. So we have that technology, that IT soft technology that has been developed for over the past 30 years, that has been integrated in Use and that you benefit from when you are working on Use. So it's one of the 3 world leaders in the intelligent document capturing space. So Use has that proven technology. It's a cloud-based solution, which is just coming back to the issue that they had with their multiple sites and the geographical challenges that they were having, that they wanted to solve with Use as well. Seamless integration and flexibility, so very easy to integrate into Intact, into the finance system, and flexibility because we can really create workflows, a way of working in Use, really personalize the solution so we get it working as you want it to be working, and adapt to how your company is working today. Common solution that meets their needs, so it was just a complete package that was very easy to implement and that met all of their needs that we just discussed. So the implementation. The ideal dynamic workflow handles your entire invoice cycle in 5 phases. So those 5 phases that you can see here: capture, enter, approve, pay, and export. So your accounts payable process will start with the electronic capture of an invoice. So how are we capturing those documents and sending them into the system? We have several possibilities. You can use your normal office scanner, where you're going to scan the documents, save them on your computer, and upload them into Use. We have an email capture functionality where we're going to be able to create a link between Use and a dedicated email address. So for example, invoices@mycompany.com. All the invoices that are being sent by your suppliers to this address, or are being transferred internally, or if you have a scanner that does scan to email, you can scan directly to that address. So Use is going to pick up all the invoices that are being sent to that dedicated email address and go and pull them out of that email address and drop them onto your system for processing. We also have mobile applications for Android and iPhone, where you can quite simply take a photo of the invoice and upload it into the system. We also have dedicated scanners that are directly linked to your Use application via an internet connection. And when you're going to scan your documents, they're going to be sent straight into Use for processing. So within minutes, your documents are automatically recognized and separated into batches of documents for your review. And the very unique recognition technologies maximize the level of automation. So you're going to have less documents that are going to require manual intervention. So you're going to have the no-touch process up here, where the document is captured, entirely read, completely read, and sent back to your finance system. So that is a no-touch process. Coming back to the process down here. So once captured, the invoices are directly sent for entry and approval, so following a preset workflow. So maybe you have certain invoices that need to be approved by certain people. That can be based on suppliers. So maybe for supplier A, you need approver to be approver 1, in which case all the invoices are going to be automatically sent to approver 1. Maybe they could be based on amounts, so we could have dedicated workflows based on amounts. So for all invoices above £50,000, they're going to automatically be sent to upper management with several levels of approvers who are going to all approve those documents. So users can approve those invoices directly from any browser window or any mobile device. And once the invoice is approved, it can be sent back to your finance system for payment. So that's how you're going to avoid all your late payment penalties and your supplier calls and capture all possible discounts from your suppliers. And in the end, it just automatically turns your invoice into accounting data that is perfectly compatible with your finance system. Looking at the implementation phases for OnPointe. So OnPointe started using Use in August 2015, and after 5 weeks implementation project, they were up and running. So week 1, we had a definition of organizational structure. So we needed to understand the multiple company sites, what they were going to be doing. We needed to have a workshop where we're going to see who needs to approve those specific invoices, who the approvers were for each invoice, and just really design the workflows around how they wanted to work. We then customized the integration between Use and Intact because they wanted to export from Use some specific data into Intact. So we customized that integration for them. We had some training, so a rollout on those first 15 facilities. We made some WebEx video user videos for them, so some training online, which we performed for them and we saved for them so that when the users needed to, they could just rerun that video if they had any questions. And after 5 weeks, 10 to 15 additional facilities were added and they all started working on Use. So looking at the benefits and measurements of implementing Use, after just a month of using the system, they saw a rapid decrease of around 50% of the time it was taking them to process an invoice. And that efficiency really allowed them to grow faster as their accounts payable staff were able to handle more volumes whilst doing less work. So you can see here on the left the invoice life cycle time, where it was at 25 days to begin with, and after just a month they were sitting at around 7 days, and in November they were sitting at 5 days, and that continued to decrease. So as I just said, reduced by 15%, and some invoices were being processed in as little as 2 days at month's end. And accounts payable clerks who were previously working on 4 to 6 facilities each were now able to work on up to 8 because they were just saving that much time processing those invoices through the system. As you can see, after just a month, they reached their cruising invoice volume. So after just a month, they were processing 3,000 invoices in the system, and in January 2016, they were processing their 4,000 invoices. So the benefit really was just simplicity and scalability, easy to use right away. They had more than 300 users on their system that were using the system. Obviously, we didn't come in and train each one of those 300 users. The system is very user-friendly, and you can really pick it up very quickly. So training isn't an absolute necessity. And they can quickly add new features due to the fact that it's in cloud, and we can just with the plug and play feature, we can just add new features into the system. Another benefit was efficiency, so result and benefit. Uniform and centralized electronic accounts payable process for the entire company. So the whole company across their 31 sites were now working in the same way across the system. We eliminated the manual invoice tracking log at remote locations, which was just saving them time and effort in chasing down outstanding invoices. So they had a log where they had to keep a track of all their invoices on an Excel spreadsheet, which obviously we removed. And when they needed to find an invoice, they just looked it up in the system. They could see who had worked on that invoice, what they did on that invoice, if it was late, who it was with, who needed to work on that invoice, and just chase up those invoices very, very quickly. They have a completely paperless accounts payable process, which was achieved via the email capture functionality that I just told you about previously. And another benefit is the mobility. So invoices can be reviewed and approved anytime, anywhere. So being a cloud solution, all you need is an internet connection. So you don't even need a computer, because you can search for the invoices and approve them via our mobile application as well. Another benefit was increased visibility. So accountants and auditors can retrieve the source of the document straight through the finance system, straight through Intact, because they're going to have a link in Intact that will take them to the document in use, where they're going to be able to see the complete history of the document, as I've previously said, who started by importing the document, what time they did it, what date, who then works on that document, at what time, at what date, what did they do, and you're going to be able to completely track the history of that document in use, where you're going to be able to have your complete audit trail available anytime, anywhere. Visibility to processing comments as well as approval history. So approval history, I'm not going to go through that again, that's what I've just told you. Comments, you can leave a comment on a document that is going to be available for anyone down the workflow, or anyone who is searching for that document later on down the line. And end users who are going to have real-time visibility on their spending. So the invoice is going through the system. We also have a budget functionality. What budget is left, we're going to be able to track all of that in the system. And the next benefit, last benefit, is savings. So they're really spending less money for the same growth. We have a direct impact on the bottom line. So no more mailing of checks due to the payment that is being sent from Use to Intact. So the order for payment that is being sent from Use to Intact, Intact is automatically generating the payments and sending them off to the suppliers. Mailing, so no more sending all the invoices to head office from the multiple sites, or sending them back and forth for multiple approvers. Less paper to manage, so all the documents are stored in the system. No more duplicate and mistaken payments, so Use doesn't enable you to process the same invoice twice. So duplicates are detected in the system and you can't process a duplicate. No more mistaken payments, obviously. And they're just able to capture discounts and avoid the late payment penalties, thanks to all that tracking of the invoices and all the new speed that has been put into place due to all the automation thanks to use. Do you have any questions? So thank you for your time. I hope that you learned a bit more about use and that case study was interesting for you. I'm just seeing someone writing on the chat now. A question is coming in. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to send them in. We can also contact you after the webinar just to go over any questions that you may have. So we have a question here. Do you integrate into Sage? So yes, we do integrate into Sage, and we integrate into lots of Sage editions. So just off the top of my head, we have Sage 1000, Sage 200, Sage 50, Sage 100. So lots of Sage editions. So we have a lot of customers currently working on Sage, all those editions that are working with use and integrating very easily into Sage. I have another question coming in. How long does it take to implement a project? So obviously this can depend on the size of your project. If you have a very simple project, you can be up and running in a matter of days. If you have a bit more of a complex project, a very high volume of invoices, a lot of company sites, then as you saw here, OnPointe was implemented in 5 weeks. So it's a matter of weeks and not a matter of months, as it could be with on-premise solutions. Does anyone have any other questions? No, I don't see any other questions coming in. So just to let you know, we have a demo coming up on the 29th of June where we're actually going to be showing a demo of the actual system, where we'll be importing live documents into the system, processing those documents, just showing how use can work for you. And if you're interested as well, we do offer free trials. So if you want to try out the system, it's a 15-day free, no obligation trial where you're going to be working on your own data. So we're going to import your own data into the system, so your chart of accounts, your users, etc. And for those 15 days, excuse me, you can work on the system and export back to your finance system as well. And also don't hesitate to follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn. If you have any questions, you can email me. You had my email address on one of those first slides. So it's emily.vincent@justuseit.com. So if I just come back to that slide for you, so you can write that down if you need to. But we will get in touch with each of you just to see if you had any questions, or maybe you want to see a private demo of the solution. So thank you very much for your time. Here you've got my email address. Thank you very much for your time, and please don't hesitate to get back in touch if you have any questions. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you.